Do not miss any detail. The investigation team quickly expanded its scope. They collected financial transactions from intermediary accounts, confirming large sums transferred to the guard multiple times. Additional camera footage showed Annabelle's coordinated movements.
Carry it out. I was the only one who opened the way for her into the vault. I never expected things to become this serious.
This confession exploded like a bomb in the palace. Charles stood silent for a long time, his fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. The pain of betrayal from the wife he loved and trusted left him nearly exhausted. He turned away, hiding his reddened eyes from his subordinates. Continue taking the most detailed statement possible. I need everything: specific amounts, communication times, and how they covered their tracks.
Filled with fear, he confessed, "Your Majesty, it was indeed Queen Camilla who ordered it. She provided detailed internal information, transferred bribe money to me, and directed Annabelle to carry." The guard trembled violently, initially trying to deny weakly. But under continuous pressure from concrete evidence and the king's promise of reduced punishment, he completely collapsed. In a hoarse, broken voice, "Termination. I'll handle it. We'll transfer more money through intermediaries, demand his absolute silence, and destroy all evidence, messages, accounts, even the small gifts from before. Leave no traces."
The sisters acted swiftly. Through a reliable intermediary, tracks were already too late. The guard had been arrested by Charles's team earlier. He was in the interrogation room, facing irrefutable evidence. Upon receiving the new instructions via the intermediary, he smiled bitterly in hopes of buying final silence. Camilla hoped that with the extra money, the guard would remain loyal, helping them escape justice. She even dreamed that everything would blow over, the brooch would be sold successfully, and their luxurious life would continue. But they had no idea that all their efforts to cover intermediary, they transferred a larger sum than originally planned, along with urgent instructions. "Keep your mouth shut, erase everything. We will protect you." The message was sent early. The additional bribe no longer mattered. He faced the risk of bearing full responsibility alone, heavy prison time, a ruined reputation, and a shattered family. In that moment, the guard made a fateful decision. He looked straight into the eyes of the investigators, and King Charles, his voice hoarse from exhaustion and fear. Camilla tried to stay calm, but her hands trembled as she clenched them tightly. Annabelle stood beside her, eyes fixed on the floor, not daring to look up.
Charles sat at the head of the long table, his bearing dignified, but his face showing extreme fatigue and pain. Beside him was the
British monarchy stood on the brink of an unprecedented crisis. Late that night, the atmosphere in Buckingham Palace was heavy, like the prelude to a great storm. King Charles summoned Camilla and Annabelle to a discreet meeting in a private conference room, witnessed only by thick walls and dim golden lights. No one outside his most trusted circle was permitted to know. The two sisters entered with pale faces and heavy steps.
Rested guard, still in handcuffs. The silence was suffocating. Charles looked directly at his wife and sister-in-law, his voice low but full of authority. Today everything must...
The kingdom forced him to act. The final confrontation was nearing. Nothing could stop justice now. With the guard's full confession, the chain of evidence was complete and irrefutable. Camilla and Annabelle's conspiracy was about to be fully exposed. To face the harshest truth, the prime suspect was right by his side. After the alarm about the Sapphire Jubilee Snowflake Brooch sounded, the anxiety rising within her. The initially peaceful evening had turned into the beginning of a storm. King Charles knew full well that this incident was no ordinary theft. It could undermine the very foundations of the monarchy, and he had
at the very heart of the monarchy, where he had once placed absolute trust.
The security team was immediately mobilized. Charles ordered a full inspection, but in his mind, the image of Annabelle Elliott from earlier grew clearer. Camilla stood beside him, trying to stay calm, but Charles could sense the atmosphere in Buckingham Palace changed abruptly. The grand hallways that had once echoed with laughter were now shrouded in a heavy silence, broken only by the hurried footsteps of the security team. King Charles could not sit still. He immediately convened an emergency meeting. In the middle of the night, his resolute voice echoing in the discreet meeting room. Check all cameras, entry and exit data, and every record related to the storage vault. I want the truth before sunrise. Entered a decisive and intense phase. Though Buckingham Palace outwardly maintained its familiar dignified rhythm, inside, it was a machine operating relentlessly under time pressure. Charles barely slept, spending hours on end in his private office, reviewing detailed reports, making direct calls to his most trusted advisors, and demanding hourly updates. The initial rage within him had transformed into a steely cold, but that love was now being tested to its limits. Anger blended with deep sorrow made Charles more somber. He understood that if this conspiracy continued, not only would the monarchy's honor be damaged, but the future of the reign itself would be threatened. The investigation directly overseen by King Charles quickly, but their arrogance and greed led to a fatal mistake, appearing at the summer party without anticipating King Charles's sharp insight. As Charles followed the initial clues, he gradually reached the harsh truth. Each new piece of evidence cut like a knife into his heart. He loved Camilla, could not focus. He observed from afar, noticing Annabelle occasionally glancing at her watch, her gestures somewhat hurried. The royal atmosphere remained outwardly elegant, but inside the king's heart, the first seeds of doubt had quietly taken root. He recalled times when Camilla had subtly intervened in internal matters, and now her sister's unexpected appearance made him worry about something much larger. When the party drew to a close after warm toasts, Charles breathed a sigh of relief. He and Camilla bid farewell to the guests with professional smiles. But just 1 hour later, as the palace fell quiet again, an alarm from the security department sent shockwaves through the entire royal family. The Sapphire Jubilee Snowflake Brooch, a prestigious piece crafted from his voice trembling. This is impossible. This is a national treasure, a treasure of the reign. Who would dare touch it right inside our own home? His heart ached sharply. It was not just a material loss. This was betrayal. 48 rare sapphires from Baffin Island in Canada, along with hundreds of sparkling diamonds, a national diplomatic symbol worth over £24 million, had vanished from the high-security storage vault. Charles stood frozen in his private office, his face pale with rage and disappointment. He slammed his hand hard on the desk. Times, camera locations, and weaknesses in the storage vault. She also approached and bribed a long-serving security officer with a large sum of money, promising generous additional rewards if successful. The guard, already difficult years before becoming queen, the struggles to assert her place. Her love for Charles was real, but the fear of losing power and being sidelined made her waver. Finally, she nodded, her voice low. Annabelle accessed the vault. The sparkling snowflake sapphire brooch with its 48 precious stones from Baffin Island and hundreds of diamonds was carefully removed by her and hidden in a specially but resolute. All right, we will do it, but we must be extremely careful. No one must suspect anything. The two sisters meticulously laid out the plan. Camilla used her position as queen consort to provide critical internal information, security shift schedules, system maintenance. Facing financial difficulties, was tempted into the trap. Annabelle played the key role. She posed as support for inventorying royal artifacts, a task that sounded reasonable during a period of asset transitions. Under the cover of the bribed guard, Annabelle recalled approving her name on the invitation list. Camilla spun around abruptly, her smile momentarily stiffening. She gently took her husband's hand, her voice gentle but quick. My dear Annabelle is only family blood relatives. I don't let a familiar guest ruin the atmosphere. Charles looked deeply into his wife's eyes, searching for sincerity. He loved Camilla and had stood by her through countless ups and downs, but this moment made him sense an invisible distance. He nodded reluctantly, fully reviewed beforehand. A wave of suspicion surged in the king's heart. Charles clenched his fists lightly, forcing a smile to remain on his lips, but his voice carried tension as he turned to Camilla. "Camilla, when did your sister arrive? I don't invited her because this is an extended family gathering. With everyone enjoying themselves, making a big deal out of it would cause unnecessary commotion. Please trust me, everything will be fine." Not wanting to spoil the party in front of the guests. "All right, but after the party we need to talk clearly." His voice was low, carrying growing unease. The party continued amid lively laughter and conversation. Annabelle mingled skillfully, chatting with guests about old family stories. But Charles, of treatment. He smiled warmly as he greeted each guest, bearing the heavy responsibility of a sovereign on his shoulders. But then, in a moment, as his gaze swept across the crowd, he froze. In the corner of the room, near the tall windows, great pomp and ceremony, serving as a declaration of stability and unity after many upheavals. The guests were familiar faces, major donors, trusted advisors, and members of the royal loom, creating a picture of royal pride and grandeur. The party commemorating individuals who had been closely tied to the monarchy throughout King Charles III's reign was held with family. The atmosphere buzzed with the melodious sound of violins, sparkling champagne glasses, and polite whispered conversations. King Charles entered the grand hall with a dignified bearing, but his eyes clearly showed fatigue. From months stood a familiar woman, Annabelle Elliott, Queen Camilla's biological sister. She was wearing an elegant dark-colored dress, holding a glass of wine, and chatting cheerfully with a few distinguished guests. Her name was completely absent from the official guest list that Charles had carefully. No usual movement traces. He simply failed to appear on time. Charles slammed his hand down hard on the solid oak desk, his voice echoing with fury and disappointment. "This is clear proof. There is an insider right among us. He didn't." A special investigation team was formed consisting of top technology experts and experienced royal intelligence officers. They pursued every possible lead: mobile phone signals, suspicious financial transactions, and especially real-time tracking from unexpected development heightened the tension further. The main guard, the man directly responsible for the storage vault and who had assisted Annabelle, suddenly vanished without notice. No leave request. Disappear for no reason. Find him immediately. The guard's sudden absence further strengthened suspicions that the theft had systematic internal support. Charles immediately ordered a nationwide urgent manhunt. Determination. He would not allow anyone, no matter how close, to harm the honor and sacred assets of the monarchy. When he summoned all security staff who had been on duty the night of the brooch's disappearance, and updates through secure lines, the sisters realized the net was closing, but still hoped for a miracle. Charles stood at the window looking out into the palace's darkness. He sighed heavily, tears rolling down his aged cheeks. Why has it come to this? He asked himself. But duty was the final spark. The investigation team quickly gathered more evidence: transaction histories, location data, and confirmation from the intermediary. The sisters' attempts to erase traces not only failed, but also inadvertently provided additional leads to the... "I will confess everything. Camilla and Annabelle planned this long ago. She provided the information, bribed me, and directed Annabelle to take the brooch. I don't want to bear the blame alone anymore." This confession, the investigators. Charles received the report in his private office, his heart heavy. He felt the deepest pain of betrayal. Camilla, the woman he had once trusted absolutely, was now trying to cover up her crimes at all costs. Camilla, on the other side, still unaware of the full truth, kept checking her phone, hoping for good news. Anxiety caused her to lose sleep and appetite. Her face grew haggard, despite maintaining a perfect appearance before her attendance. Annabelle was nearly collapsing repeatedly, calling for... He had faced many crises in his life. but he had never imagined betrayal would come from those closest to him. As the images became clearer, Charles gripped the arms of his chair. The royal security team worked without rest. Surveillance screens glowed under cold lights. Charles sat at the center, his eyes fixed on the fast-forwarded footage. His heart pounded a mix of anxiety and fury, tightly. About 30 minutes before the party ended, Annabelle Elliott had left the main area. She moved through less trafficked side corridors, her movements agile but deliberately avoiding camera coverage. It was no coincidence. She seemed to know the blind spots well. At the same time, the system recorded a valid access card being used at the door to the treasure vault. The card was an internal one, reserved for highly authorized staff or those with special permission.
"This cannot be a coincidence," Charles muttered, his voice low and tense. He turned to the head of security, his eyes blazing. Annabelle had no legitimate reason to be in that area. "Investigate further." She showed up uninvited to the party and disappeared right when the artifact went missing. The first step, her voice emotional yet anxious. "We are sisters. We must look out for each other. The monarchy has given us much, but it also demands too much. This is our way to be independent, to live without fear."
In the months that followed, the sisters believed this was not just a theft of assets, but a long-term plan to secure their status and wealth regardless of any political changes in the monarchy.
Camilla hugged her sister tightly after completing
Prepared bag. No alarms sounded. No camera clearly captured her face. After securing the artifact, the sisters quickly moved to the next phase. They planned to smuggle the brooch abroad through reliable intermediaries, then sell it to a wealthy private collector in Europe. The proceeds would be transferred to secure offshore accounts, becoming a reserve fund for Camilla's family. Believed they had succeeded. The brooch was well hidden, with no traces left behind. Camilla continued her role as queen consort with a perfect facade, while Annabelle returned to her daily life, idle forever. The monarchy could change at any moment. If King Charles is no longer here, or if William ascends the throne, what will become of our position? Allowed to disturb them. The atmosphere was heavy, broken only by the ticking of an antique clock. Annabelle gripped her sister's hand tightly, her voice filled with urgency and ambition. "Sister Camilla, we cannot sit
to be tainted by greed."
Meanwhile, deep in memories from several months earlier, the veil of secrecy gradually lifted. It was a drizzly afternoon at Clarence House. Camilla and Annabelle sat in a private room, with the door tightly closed, no one allowed.
Reviewing every report and every small detail. The pain of betrayal kept him awake, but his determination to uncover the truth grew stronger. He could not allow the monarchy, the symbol of British tradition and honor, to
That Sapphire Jubilee Snowflake Brooch is our opportunity. It's worth tens of millions. With it, we will have a secure future.
Camilla initially hesitated. She looked at her sister, her heart full of conflict. She remembered the difficult. Camilla! She is Camilla's own sister. If she dared to do this, then what is Camilla's role in it? His voice was a whisper filled with profound anguish. Charles was not one to easily suspect his wife, but the initial evidence was too clear. He ordered discreet checks on kinds of forced entry. Charles stood up and paced the room with heavy steps. The suspicion grew like a tumor in his heart. He recalled the brief conversation with Camilla just before the party ended. She had reassured him too quickly, too smoothly. Did Camilla know in advance? Was she involved? The thought of Camilla's activities in recent weeks and increased surveillance on Annabelle.
The investigation team continued its review. They uncovered more suspicious details. Annabelle had moved alone, for a considerable distance, avoiding main camera areas. Card data showed the user knew the
What is this, if not suspicious? The head of security nodded, sweat beading on his forehead despite the air-conditioned room. Your Majesty, we are rechecking everything. The access card was swiped at 22:47, less than an hour before the theft was discovered. There were no signs that pained him deeply. He had chosen Camilla as his wife and granted her the position of queen consort with complete trust and love. Now that very trust was being cruelly tested. He stopped at the window gazing into the darkness of the royal gardens. Camilla tried to maintain composure in front of her attendants. She paced restlessly, clutching a handkerchief tightly. She knew her husband was resolute once suspicious. If Charles dug deeper, everything could collapse. Security system, something an ordinary guest would unlikely possess. Charles sensed it clearly. This was not an impulsive theft. It was a meticulously planned operation. Meanwhile, in her private room, in the following days, King Charles's investigation proceeded urgently but discreetly. Beneath the palace's calm exterior, a fierce hunt for the truth raged on. Charles spent hours in his private office. Fear, mixed with determination to protect her position, heightened her tension. She whispered to herself, "Stay calm. Annabelle will leave no traces." The next morning, the preliminary report reached Charles. His suspicions not only persisted, but intensified. There were no signs of external intrusion. Everything pointed to an inside job. Charles sat alone, head in hands, exhaustion overwhelming him. He had hoped it was a misunderstanding, but reality was pushing him toward a crossroads: justice or family loyalty. You will enjoy. It all began when Annabelle Elliott, Queen Camilla's sister, unexpectedly appeared at a summer party at Buckingham Palace, despite not being on the official guest list. At the time, no one thought her seemingly harmless presence would spark a storm. Just 1 hour after the party ended, one of the most valuable investigation toward an answer no one wanted to face. Was this merely a daring theft, or was there a far greater secret behind it? And if Charles's suspicions were correct, would he choose to protect his family or protect the crown? In the summer of 2026, Buckingham Palace was adorned in its most splendid and majestic glory, under the golden, shimmering sunlight. The lush green gardens were impeccably trimmed with poppies and English roses in full bloom.
I've got some troubling news about England's royal family.
A shocking arrest. A priceless royal artifact has gone missing. Queen Camilla's name is at the center of a crisis that could shake the entire British monarchy to its core.
Valuable pieces of jewelry in the royal collection was discovered missing without a trace. While King Charles ordered an urgent investigation, suspicious details began to emerge. Cameras captured unexplained time